Here we go then. It's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from third on the grid. And what are the Honda-powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? At 2,285 meters above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners make up a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, and you can expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking too into the hard braking zones of turns 1 and turn 4. It's just about time to go to the track for the beginning of the race, but before we do, Anthony Davidson, what types of strategy do you think we can expect for today's event?
Well, there's a lot that both the driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. The tyres, fuel, energy recovery systems, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to the pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on worn tyres.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, the owner driver, Yuki Tsunoda, and Verstappen. Vettel, Ricciardo, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Stroll and Pierre Gasly. Russell, Sainz, Robert Schwartzman and Norris. They've taken a grid penalty. Fernando Alonso, Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen and Esteban Ocon. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Leclerc, Mick Schumacher, Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today we're back here with career mode for the season finale in Mexico. Sadly, no championship to decide in terms of the drivers. However, the battle for the constructors rages on. If you haven't watched yesterday's video, quali of course, you can go back to watch that now if you are interested. But if you have watched that, we were P9 at the end of Q3 and we've been promoted to P5, the third row of the grid here in Mexico, because of another haul of grid penalties for other drivers. In terms of the strategy, it will be that classic two-stop round here, tyre wear, tyre degradation being very high. Two potential strategies, virtually identical in terms of what we're going to go for. I really do think soft, medium might be the better strategy. The drop-off on the softs is so high, but the mediums aren't too bad. It is a difficult one. Whatever happens, we'll be starting on already worn softs, and the first stint will be quite a long one, but it is a difficult one to judge. Of course, you know, if we are to go for the two-stopper on softs, the problem being that the final set of softs are already used. So, really, I think we'll go soft-medium and then just see how it's feeling on the mediums. If we get into lap 13 and we need a new set of mediums, or lap 14, and I'm sort of thinking, right, the tyre wear was too high on the softs at the start, we're going to stick with the mediums, it's really going to be a C. It's definitely going to be soft-medium, whether we finished on the mediums or the softs. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't want to go much longer than 9 laps on already worn softs. In terms of the way this video is going to work, today's video, there's going to be 2 for this season finale. The first part, all the action, because it's going to be a pivotal and dramatic Grand Prix, I'm certainly sure of that. And then the second part of the video will be a continuation of this. In terms of the second part of the video, that will mostly be the race analysis, similar to how Hungary went. So if you're watching now, just know that you're going to have to go and click on that video afterwards to continue it. No, it's a little bit of a pest, but I don't want to go over an hour on a video with it. That there's reasons and so on. But we're going to have a look at the grid, which has certainly changed quite a bit due to grid penalties from the quali results yesterday. Well, if you have a look at the grid at the moment here. You can see in the top 10 a severe shortage of red and only one chunk of orange there. It's a bit mixed up, is the grid. Checo Perez qualified second. Max Verstappen on pole. Verstappen's taken a grid penalty, drops him down to P6. The home favourite has pole position. There's a good chance Verstappen will finish P2. They've got so much pace of those Red Bulls, but Perez is now looking in a very prime position to take a third win in a row to consolidate second in the Drivers' Championship and certainly get this Mexican crowd erupting. Then the two Mercedes cars, such reliability with that power unit this season. No engine penalties once again, and they line up P2 and 3. That's going to be a force, and really, you know, the only other team that can compete with them, the only team that's better, really, Red Bull, Ferrari are very similar in terms of power engine-wise, and they are a long way down the grid. We have been promoted to P4, which is certainly very, very nice. Puts us ahead of both AlphaTauris, and we're in a very tasty position. However, the man behind is Yuki Tsunoda, the Japanese AlphaTauri driver. Starts P5 on the grid, and he starts on the mediums. Now that opens up the opportunity for a one-stopper. And watch out for Yuki. We know he has got pace, and he's progressed throughout the season. Despite the low rating he's still got, he certainly is a force to be reckoned with. And watch out for some good quality driving from the young Japanese driver. He's right behind us, and he's going to be on medium, so we might have the advantage for a lap, but he's going to be biting at our heels from there. And right behind him, Max Verstappen. He will be charging through despite the grid penalty. Even on very worn softs, he will just be like a hot knife cutting through butter. Trust me on that one. Seb Vettel promoted to P7 for Aston Martin. His teammate lands P9. Those two, free choice of tyres. Vettel starts on the hards. He's going to be looking for a hard to medium one-stop. I'm guessing Tsunoda's going to be going for a medium to hard one-stop or a very aggressive two-stopper with two sets of softs to finish. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Danny Rick, P8. A grid penalty for him drops him further down the order. He's already ahead of us in the championship. If we can stay ahead of him today, we could potentially close that gap down to P6. We'll have to wait and see on that one. As I said, Lance Stroll on the mediums. Gasly qualified ahead of us. A pivotal one here. He starts P10. We've got pretty much identical cars in the R&D, but him starting P10, you know, it's a long way to go to get to P4 where we are, unless we have a disaster. It's looking a lot brighter than it did yesterday after quali for us in the constructors, because you look at Yuki Tsunoda P5, he is a threat to us, and actually almost more of a threat than Pierre, because Pierre might be quicker, but Yuki can go for the one stop, you know, he can overcut us. It's a difficult one, but I don't think we're going to make up the time on the two-stopper than we would need to make up to catch back up to Yuki who's on the one-stopper. It is going to be a mad Grand Prix, but Gasly down in P10 could struggle a little bit to get back up in the points. However, it does mean both of them behind us. Even if we finish ahead of both of them, if we finish P4, Tsunoda P5, Gasly P6, for example, they would still finish ahead of us in the constructors. We need my teammate to help us out, and he's down in P13, so there's still a good chance of that. George Russell, P11 for Williams, promoted up there, not taking any good penalties with these very reliable Mercedes power engines. He starts on the hard tyres once again, probably looking for a wild one-stopper, because, you know, that'll leave him in the points, probably on the third stint for those going for the two-stopper and the faster cars, if he can defend from them, which will be difficult, but if he can, there could be some points on the board for Williams. Carlos Sainz starts P12, grid penalties for him, and that is pivotal for us, right behind us in the championship, by 3 points, I do believe. You know, if we can finish ahead of him, then we finish ahead of him in the race, we finish ahead of him in the championship. It is really, really played into our hands with these grid penalties. Of course, Carlos, down to P12, that's a long way for him to go. The Ferrari's got a much better pace than us, but he's got a lot of work to do, and this is playing right into our hands for a very nice finish to the season. Then, Robert, P13 on the medium, surrounded by guys on the softs, and he's in a slower car, and he probably isn't as good of a quality driver as Sainz and Norris, but once their softs really start to wear down, Robert's going to be flying around them, really. Hopefully, he can get up there to fight with Gasly a little bit, maybe hold him up on the one-stop strategy. We need that today. I don't know if he will be able to do so, but we really, really do need that today. Then, Lando Norris, P14 in the McLaren. Also plays into our hands. He's just behind Carlos in the drivers. So if he stays there and out of the points, if he stays behind us, he's not going to get ahead of us. So despite a good recovery so far this season for Lando, certainly looking like we're going to be in a very good position heading into this one. Because, you know, we needed to be ahead of Sainz for the drivers, Norris for the drivers, and Gasly for the constructors. And we're comfortably ahead of all three of them. Then Alonso, P15. Grid penalties for him. P10, of course, after quali, starting on the softs. He'll struggle a bit coming up from there to try and get some more points for Alpine after their only points score last time. Then the Alfa Romeos, both starting on mediums. They were looking to charge up the field. Decent form recently. Esteban Ocon, P18 with grid penalties. Opts for the soft tyre compound there. That's a really, really unusual strategy there. Esteban Ocon for the softs. I mean, he's committed himself to a two-stopper there when he could really throw it out the box and put a one-stopper in. But I can sort of see why he's gone for that. Because all those cars around him, similar pace, are going to be going for the one-stopper. Maybe he's trying to go for an out-of-the-box strategy. Then Charles Leclerc, P19 for Ferrari, promoted from 22nd after a mechanical failure. He starts on the soft tyres once again. He's probably going to go for pace so he can nicely get up towards his teammate quicker on that strategy. Same strategy as his teammate, fresher softs. He should be able to pull off an effective two-stopper. Then Schumacher and Mazepin, both on the softs there, with Latifi rounding out the field. Now that is a very exciting grid, and we have got a lot of work to do from P4, generally, to try and stay as high up as possible. We've got Verstappen charging, we've got Ricciardo, we've got Sainz, we've got Norris, we've got Leclerc, and I have to say, we've got a very exciting Mexican GP coming up. Of course, Checo Perez coming off pole. If he can pull this off, the home crowd will be erupting. Before we get into the action, if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But time for some season finale action. Well, there is nothing quite like the buzz here in Mexico City for the season finale. 5 red lights. They're out and away we go. It's not too bad of an initial launch for ourselves. Hamilton gets away badly. Bottas not too shabby there. Verstappen sends it down the inside line. You've got Yuki Tsunoda back there as we rush down to the first corner here. Got to carry it a lot round the exit here as we're very careful through this first section. We're trying to tiptoe round Valtteri Bottas here and we get ahead of him. Then it's Verstappen ahead of Hamilton. Looking like a good start here for Red Bull as there's quite a break in the train. Something must happen further back involving one of the McLarens. I think that might be Danny Rick. But Tsunoda on the back of Hamilton. He'll be looking to push. Certainly won't take him long, but we're up to P2 with a very decent start here in Mexico. We're going to have to drive like a lion if we want to stay with Checo, and I don't think we can. You can see he's already off into the distance. Significantly better car for him, significantly better driver at the moment. However, the Mercs are quick, but not that quick, really. So certainly with the Mercs, we might be able to compete. Our middle sector there was simply fantastic, taking advantage of the still decent softs here, but struggling a little bit in the final sector to catch up to Perez. What a start to the Mexican GP. Perez leads the home fan. Home fans will be cheering him along as behind Tsunoda is dropping off this train. We have got a lot of work to do to stay here. As always then, the race replay of the start, and we were starting P4. Perez on pole. Not the best of initial lifts, then got away then. You can see the AlphaTauri is quickly moving offline. Poor start for Lewis Hamilton, getting engulfed by Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda. You can see the loads of cars heading into the first corner. We tried to send it around the outside line, and we successfully did that on Bottas and Verstappen there. Really good start for ourselves. Yuki Tsunoda just behind Lewis Hamilton at the moment. Then side by side, you can see in the background, that is Danny Rick and Pierre Gasly. If we start to head back there, and Danny Rick remains ahead of Pierre Gasly. Certainly an interesting start here, but a great start for ourselves, up to P2. Verstappen moving up to P4, not too shabby. Hamilton's season, pretty much a summary here, with him P5 at the moment. Yuki Tsunoda sits P6 in the AlphaTauri. Not too bad. He'll want to use the advantage of having those mediums that don't degrade quickly to catch back up to the others. As behind, you can see Carlos Sainz down the inside line of Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. A fantastic move from Carlos. That's him up into the points. His fellow countryman Fernando Alonso down P15. So a fantastic start for Carlos Sainz to get up to P10 there. Way ahead of Lando Norris, which is important for the championship. He wants to finish ahead of him in the end of this race as he heads down to the first corner. As in front, some action with Danny Rick and Seb Vettel. You can see Danny Rick down the inside line of Seb Vettel. Will he get the move done as Carlos Sainz is going slowly? And what a shame. Oh, it's a mechanical failure. Ferrari couldn't make it a lap in quali with Leclerc's engine, and Sainz sadly out of the race with a mechanical failure. What a shame. His teammate Charles Leclerc, head of the two Haasers, now chasing onto the back of Kimi Raikkonen. What a shame though for Carlos Sainz, as we are now looking at lap 2. Well, quite a shame to lose Carlos Sainz here, the Spaniard. It does, however, mean that we are guaranteed to finish ahead of him now in the drivers. That's a position confirmed. You can see the Ferrari power engine having some troubles. We're quite low on ERS already, but I have to say, the Ferrari power engine this weekend has been absolutely terrible. I mean, let's face it, not for ourselves, but you look at Leclerc, mechanical failure in quali, Sainz, mechanical failure in the race. I think Leclerc's fallen a bit more lucky with when he's having his mechanical failure. Of course, him fighting through the pack here. But, you know, really, it's bad luck for Carlos here. He didn't need that this weekend. We are going along extremely nicely here. Don't know what it is about Mexico, but I'm getting those vibes. I'm getting those party vibes here. And I can see Checo in front, and I am not driving miles away from him, you know. We're starting to get a little bit messy this lap in Sector 3. Not getting DRS. Bottas will get DRS on us, but he's under a bit of pressure from Verstappen, you know. Perez starting to get away. That's understandable, but look at the gap back to Tsunoda. This is playing perfectly for us here. I wonder if the McLaren and Norris has got a problem. He's certainly quite a way back because he's had to fight his way up the order a little bit more than his teammate in this one due to engine problems, engine penalties, you know. We could move back ahead of Danny Rick here in the championship if we continue like this. We're dropping away from Checo. Really, this wasn't his race to win. This is more of his race to lose, starting on pole with his teammate miles back, really, in this Red Bull car. Bottas starting to get a little bit frustrated, sat behind us, but Verstappen comfortably ahead of Hamilton. Hamilton, despite being carried along by DRS, isn't really being able to compete here. He's struggling a little bit. This is playing perfectly into our hands. We might get to the business part of it towards the end of the race. We probably will, where we might have quite a bit of work to do, but at the first few laps here, the tyres starting to degrade, but holding on a bit better than I was potentially expecting here at Mexico. I was expecting Bahrain sort of amount of tyre wear when you look at the strategies, but actually not going too badly here. We can use a little bit more ERS down the straight. Perez getting away with the fastest lap. He is flying us now the first chunk of defending for ourselves to do, and it is from the championship winner, Valtteri Bottas. Sadly, we couldn't have a fight heading into this weekend between him and Perez, of course, already decided. And now, sadly for us, if you get DRS for the main straight, you also have it again. We don't have DRS here. Bottas steams ahead. We need to stay close to Bottas so he can remain in his DRS, unless we will be vulnerable to Max Verstappen behind. And I'd love to try and stay in a podium position here. The Mercs have pace, but not that of the Red Bulls, so certainly is possible. A warning here, so easy to get them around Mexico. It's that sort of track where you've got to push really hard. So easy to get them. We're still in DRS, we've got to stay close to Bottas. Well, a little bit of a replay here of lap number 3, Pierre Gasly charging at Sebastian Vettel. Good recovery from Gasly. Vettel, of course, going long on the hard tyre compounds in front. You can see the battle between Yuki Tsunoda and Danny Rick. Danny Rick tries to get back at him, but stays behind the Japanese driver. AlphaTauri now P6 and 8, but we're pretty comfortable ahead of him as Lando Norris versus Lance Stroll. That battle commences. This is, of course, the viewers in front. Lance Stroll edges ahead down this right-hand side. Lando Norris sticks it back down the inside line. Some fantastic racing here at Mexico. Not much space there for Lance Stroll, but manages just about to stay ahead through the double apex corner there and stays P10, of course, the last points position. Well, I have to say, Yuki Tsunoda is struggling a little bit compared to his teammate here, and Pierre Gasly is going to overtake him. Gasly, of course, on the soft, Tsunoda going longer for that one stopper on the medium tyre compound. There you go. Gasly in front of his teammate. Tsunoda might start to drop back to Seb Vettel, but Gasly can now chase forwards to Danny Rick in front. That's, of course, the Aussie there. As Alonso and Leclerc fight back there in the distance, and you can see that Charles Leclerc is coming out just in front of Alonso, and they continue to switch around there, but Charles Leclerc gets ahead. P14, and fantastic progress from the Ferrari driver. Well, a lovely chunk of DRS down the main straight. We're just within 9/10 of Bottas, and we managed to get that DRS, and you can see how powerful that is round here. The DRS has brought us to within a couple of tenths of him, and in fact we're just sat right behind him now. We're sat there waiting for him to make a mistake. I have to say, Leclerc making good progress from near the back. We've got to be careful through here. Don't want any track limit warnings. Certainly don't want any more. We've already got a few, so we are pushing, but not too much. Another chunk of DRS as we head towards the stadium section. Not too long until our pit stop, and I have to say the tyres do feel pretty nice, and I think we might go 2 sets of softs actually in this race. A medium stint in the middle. We'll go for the mediums being the fill-in in this one, I think, at the moment, because these softs are going nicely and certainly have got quite a lot left in them. Your DRS does run out quickly around here, but look at the gap back to the McLaren, then an AlphaTauri, and McLaren. A huge gap here, and you can see the gulf in performance in the teams. And now we are here onto the back of Bottas. I had to brake way earlier than I wanted to because he was going slowly, and that has compromised us a little bit. Could be in a bit of a train for a while as Checo slowly edges away lap by lap. We remain, though, in a podium position in a car that really should be back there with the McLarens and the AlphaTauris, but the sort of pace we're showing around here at Mexico is really great. I'm so happy with it. Well, a little replay here of Charles Leclerc's continuous progress on Antonio Giovinazzi now. Around the outside line into the stadium section. Fantastic side-by-side action. He'll have the inside line. Is he going to get the move done? He gets it done. Dispatches Antonio Giovinazzi to Fernando Alonso. Charles Leclerc up to P13. He'll be eyeing up. Going to land Stroll next to try and take P12. Fantastic recovery from the Monegasque here. Well, as I was saying, I really do think we've flicked a switch here, because, I mean, compared to quali, we're flying on Bottas. We go for the move, and that is us back into P2. We'll have DRS again to get further away onto the second step of the podium once again, as Checo continues to edge away in this one. This is going to be potentially the best 33 laps of the season to watch here. I mean, we were dominant in Paul Ricard. We're not dominant here today, but we certainly got the pace to compete with the big boys. And look at the Mercs. I mean, how are they still going this nicely here? Verstappen, I know he's had to come up the order a little bit from a grid penalty, but you can just look how close the Mercedes still are to the Red Bulls. It's quite surprising here, really. Considering the Mercs, you know, are so far behind in the R&D, they're doing fantastically well to be where they are this weekend. The tyres starting to go a little bit. We're going to start to see if anyone dares to enter the pits here in Mexico. Perez certainly doesn't. I think all the front runners, we're going to probably be coming in lap 9 or 10. I was a little bit worried in terms of the strategy with having to sort of pit twice might cause us problems, as behind Verstappen is coming, and he is coming quickly because he's got the move done on Valtteri Bottas. That's a fantastic bit of work there from Max Verstappen. You could see it in our mirrors, and that is Verstappen up to P3. He should be able to drop the Mercs now, and we have now got a Red Bull in front and a Red Bull behind, and you can see, look how quickly Verstappen's bridged the gap. This is how quick he is round here, as we've gone a little bit wide. That's cost us a little bit. We can't afford to make any mistakes at this point in the Grand Prix because Verstappen's quick. In fact, he's not just quick, he is blistering round here. So is Checo Perez, but Verstappen is coming at us, already cleared Bottas by a tenth, and now he is breaking away. Look at this. Very unusual race in some ways, very interesting race in some ways. And now we see the gulf in the R&D between the two teams. The way Verstappen's dropped the Mercedes of Bottas and Hamilton is virtually off the back of his teammate. We don't have DRS, and Hamilton is in for his pit stop. We're going to come in this lap for a fresh set of boots. Certainly makes sense to do so, but the tyre wear isn't too high. We could go for a one-stopper in this case. We could put on the hards, and we could really play a bit differently, but I think we're just safer to go for the mediums, go for the normal strategy. Hamilton pulls it early, maybe looking for the undercut on his teammate, and then of course Max Verstappen, maybe even ourselves. However, he's going to pay the price later. At a track where tyre wear is quite high, he's going to pay the price later. Ricciardo, 8 seconds behind. He's not really dropping. This race does feel as if it's just sort of been neutralised in terms of the cars and the advantage they have, and now it's just down to pure racing. I think we might bring it in later this lap.
We're coming in this lap.
Well, I've made the decision to stay out. Perez is staying out. We're playing the long game here because my tyres feel really solid. I don't think we're going to lose that much time staying out on these tyres. Verstappen and Bottas are into the pits. That will make it both Mercedes with their pit stops done. Then Tsunoda, only 16 seconds behind on the mediums. Leclerc, only 19. He has recovered fantastically well so far in this one. He's going pretty nicely, of course, on the same strategy as ourselves. Let's not forget the pit stop times. I don't exactly know whether they'll be around here, usually around 22 seconds. But if it is around 22 seconds, what we're looking at is probably, you know, Tsunoda not really being able to compete near the front today, even on that one-stop strategy. But he could be able to fight for it a bit. Checo Perez in front, surprisingly, isn't getting away from us that much here. We've got the pace, and these softs do feel fantastic. I'm looking at 40% wear for one of the first times in a race and going, wow, this is the way to go with softs here around Mexico. It feels fine, I have to say. Oh gosh, I didn't realise it was that close there. I mean, Perez, oh gosh, I don't need a heart attack at this stage in this race. But as you can see, Verstappen just ahead of Norris here. He's 3 seconds ahead of Tsunoda. We might come out behind here. What?
Exit now. You'll be racing as you leave the pit.
Put softs on, mate.
Exit now.
Okay, softs. So the strategy must have changed.
One more stop today. One stop left in
We
our
are
strategy.
going soft. So is Perez. And we're out ahead of Verstappen. This is absolutely fine. Everyone's opted for the same strategy. I don't know why we were on softs, but we are on softs. I'm sure I went for the mediums on the pre-race strategy. Soft, medium, medium. But it will be mediums to finish the race here. Perez is in front. Tsunoda leads a race here. That's nice. Nice to see Yuki. He led the race, I think, at France, wasn't it? For a little bit. He's good at those strategies. But this is actually helping us here because it's holding up Perez quite a chunk. Tsunoda, worn mediums against relatively fresh softs here for everyone else. Certainly spicing things up a little bit as we're struggling a little bit through that section for the grit. And oh dear, Yuki, mate, you're not going to be getting a seat at Red Bull anytime soon. This could get tasty. Checo Perez going to send it down the inside line of Yuki Tsunoda here. We're going to send it to... No, we're not. We're going to just about avoid contact. Verstappen's going to try and send it down the inside line here on us. We're going to comfortably defend that one. It nearly got messy there. Went for the send, couldn't pull it off, and Perez glides further away with that one. We do, however, get that DRS, and Bottas has gone quickest. Despite being all the way back there, he's gone quickest. Verstappen now having a look at us. This is a bit frustrating. We don't want to lose the position here to the Red Bull, because it's going to be very hard to regain. As we're willing to lock up into the corner, he absolutely sends it over the curve there. You can really do that in Sector 1 here at Mexico. You get some fantastic sends. We get DRS again. Tsunoda is going away, and you can see the Red Bull is faster in a straight line here because it is absolutely steaming in front. We're having to lock up into corners just to get there first to keep the position at the moment. But that is us, still P3, Tsunoda in front, and Perez is gliding off with a potential win here. Hamilton's strategy pitting earlier has not paid off. He now sits behind an Aston Martin, and his season's just been flat so far, really, hasn't it? Flat. You know, it really hasn't been fizzing. Now, Yuki Tsunoda, this should be a comfortable overtake. We choose the outside line, get the move done, and he's going to block off Verstappen for a little while. That is very much respected. Thanks a lot, Yuki. Thanks a lot, mate. He should be getting decent points here today because, I mean, Bottas now 1.4 seconds behind. He is right there. Perez is gliding away, but we, on lap 14, are P2. And out of a lot of the races, this is probably one of the quickest races we've got. We'll stay here because Yuki Tsunoda's charging back at us. So is Max Verstappen. We could have a three-wide moment into the first corner. It could get messy. We're going to try and defend it. We take that line round there. Charles Leclerc goes quickest. 1 minute 18. 2-3-1. That is a blistering lap here. But we just about stay ahead of both of them. Valtteri Bottas is now having a look at Max Verstappen. We're getting quite a train. And Checo Perez is having a field day off in front here. Sunday afternoon drive. And my days, is he off in the distance now? We're forced to defend once again. You can't catch a break in this one. I'm glad this video is in two parts because we need to capture all this action. Because, I mean, this is the most action we've had all season. As further behind, Tsunoda and Verstappen will fight again into the DRS zone. We will hopefully see a bit of that. And Verstappen gets ahead of Tsunoda. They've dropped so far back they won't have DRS on us. And we will potentially have a lap and a bit of break to be able to regain a bit of energy to go and defend again from a charging Dutchman. Well, after the pit stops, a quick run through of the order. Checo Perez leads for Red Bull. His teammate Max Verstappen sits P3 as behind Yuki Tsunoda versus Valtteri Bottas. Tsunoda's going to send it down the inside line. He's round! Oh dear, Yuki Tsunoda round. What a shame. He gets back going. He's going to do a recap here, but Yuki Tsunoda's round. Now down this straight, he's dropped back behind Lando Norris. And that is an absolute disaster here for Yuki. What a shame in this one. Dropped from a competitive position down to P11. A huge shame for the Japanese driver there. In terms of the order then, of course, we are P2. That spin for Yuki Tsunoda promotes Valtteri Bottas to P4. His teammate Hamilton a chunk behind in P5. Seb Vettel sits P6 defending from Danny Rick. Seb Vettel on hard, still yet to pit. Danny Rick, after his first pit stop, he sits on the soft tyre compound. Then, further back, Pierre Gasly chasing the duo. He'll probably be onto the back of them pretty soon. With Lando Norris, P9, and Lance Stroll rounding out the points. Yuki Tsunoda after his spin, P11, with Charles Leclerc just behind in P12. As you can see, that Lance Stroll and Yuki Tsunoda enter the pits, but Charles Leclerc behind in P10 now, into the points. Fantastic recovery from the Ferrari driver. That is Yuki Tsunoda in. Robert Schwartzman, my teammate, is in, not doing too shabby in this one. And that promotes George Russell into P11 now, fighting down the main straight with Fernando Alonso. Fantastic replay of this. Ocon behind, Alonso ahead of Russell, then Ocon. Schumacher is being chased down by the Alfa Romeo of Antonio Giovinazzi. He's trying around the outside line. No, not on Schumacher. He stays ahead of the Alfa Romeo pair of Giovinazzi and Raikkonen. Stroll sits P17 with Yuki Tsunoda P18 after a spin and a pit stop. My days. Can't get much worse than this. Robert Schwartzman, P19, my teammate, not too fantastic, with Nikita Mazepin, P21, and Latifi bringing out the rear of the field. Well, it's been a little while. Those on the one-stopper have pretty much pitted, virtually all of them, I think, if not all of them pitted. Sadly for Yuki Tsunoda, that DNF, he was in a prime position to take points come the end of the race, but not to be, quite clearly. We're going lap 22 for our fresh set of tyres. A new bit of rubber we'll be getting then. That will be the mediums to take for 14 laps to the end of this one. In terms of how the softs feel, I mean, pretty fantastic to be fair with you. One of the first races this season I felt like worn softs actually are going nicely. Hamilton had opted for the mediums, I can confirm that. Had opted for the mediums. That does explain why he is a bit slower here. But, I mean, is that the right choice? He's dropped 10 seconds back. Is he going to make that up on the softs? Possibly. Is he going to be able to get the overtake? Maybe. But then, of course, you can really fight back if you stay close with them. And Hamilton's form this season has indicated that maybe he just doesn't have that sharp edge. We've been a bit sloppy through the stadium section this lap, and it has cost us a couple of tenths. Not exactly driving around that quickly. Certainly think we might see some faster laps later in this one. Wouldn't say no to potentially the fastest lap coming from Lewis Hamilton when he gets a fresh set of softs on. That's providing he isn't going for the one-stop strategy to the end. I can't see that happening with when he pitted. You know, wouldn't exactly expect that at all. Perez still comfortably in front, and I say comfortably in front. It is a very comfortable gap, but equally though, anything can happen here in F1. But he is in a comfortable gap. We're in a nice slot, and now we're sort of that point in the GP where you can just sit back and just kind of relax a bit with it. No real stress. It's just to be nice, happy, and simply drive, and that's what I love doing. I think that's what we all love doing, isn't it? Just sitting back, relaxing, driving. This is the nice bit in the Grand Prix. A bit of a cool down from the drama, and we just get a refresh, replenish before the final stint here. And in a two-stopper race, often your first stint is dramatic, the middle stint at the start, then the second half of the middle stint, generally a bit of relaxing, and then we could have the drama laid on. Hamilton will be chasing, but lap by lap, he loses about 5 tenths. You know, he's certainly struggling there. We're going to be coming in fairly soon. The tyre wear not too shabby at all, considering we're locking up a bit, but the field very, very spread out here, I have to say. From what I was thinking could have been a very difficult Grand Prix for us, has turned into a very enjoyable one. We're actually catching on Perez a little bit, but the gap just slowly fluctuating up and down. Well, as we head towards the second pit stop in this one, Perez is becoming a lot more visible in front. In fact, Perez is now closer to us than Verstappen. We are chipping away at it, and for once in the whole season, we have literally just found a groove, and this hasn't happened much, and we've stuck to it. We have just slowly, lap by lap, been consistently a teeny bit quicker. You know, we're catching to Checo, another warning for corner cutting. Can't afford too many more of them. I think that is the last one before we get a penalty. So, yep, I need to start being very careful with that. We don't want a penalty here. That would really hamper our race. I'd rather not do that. Generally, it's just me trying to be aggressive. You have to be aggressive around a track like this with the track limits. Does Checo decide to opt for new tyres? No, he doesn't. It's going to be a bit of that. Does Verstappen or Bottas decide to opt for new tyres? Verstappen opts for new tyres. Will Bottas join him this lap? That's the question. Hamilton won't. Bottas will join Verstappen. those guys pitted early last time. Makes sense to come in now, and I'm expecting Perez to come in this lap. As a result, we don't want to be out on these softs really any longer than he is, and that little mistake costs us quite a chunk. That's a lot we've earned back. In terms of Pierre Gasly, he's currently sat on the mediums behind Norris, so he's going to have the advantage come the last few laps of this race, but of course Norris will have the advantage on fresh mediums as soon as he pits. A little bit sloppy this lap, but we're still going to be comfortably ahead of Verstappen. It's all going to come down to this medium stint for us next, whether we can just keep the sort of pace we've had on the softs, because these softs have played an absolute treat for us today in Mexico. They really have. They've been the perfect tyre to drive on, and hopefully that will continue along. The next tyre set for the mediums, exactly. I was expecting them to fit mediums onto my car when we came in last time, but they fitted softs. No surprises this time, of course. Entering the pits, we'll take out the bollard, as you do, the fresh set of mediums. So finish this race off. Will Hamilton box now or later? Of course, ourselves at the end of this pit lane. Fresh set of tyres on, mediums on, and away we go. Not the quickest of pit stops, a lot of smoke back there, but we should comfortably come out ahead of Verstappen. Do we come out ahead of Gasly and Leclerc? Yes, we do come out ahead of Gasly and Leclerc. That's perfect. Let's not forget that Leclerc still yet to pit for the second time. He's been recovering well in this race, certainly deserving of points if he can come back from a mechanical failure, not his fault. 2 points. Hamilton leads. He won't lead there for long because he is a pit stop behind us. Gasly has a little think. We don't want to lose out to Gasly here, because that is going to hamper us in terms of the gap to Perez. The pit stop was pretty much okay. Probably a little bit quicker at the Red Bull garage there, but not too shabby at all from the team. And we've got to continue on with the rhythm. Whether we'll have that with these mediums, or whether we'll be better or slower with the mediums, we'll have to just see. Time will tell on that one, but initial reactions, and we are starting to flow and get a feel for these inters. How long will it be until Sir Lewis Hamilton, though, decides to pit? Well, I can't quite believe this. Max Verstappen has just had a mechanical failure and he's out of the session. So the only Red Bull left in this is Checo Perez. This is a terrible disaster for Mercedes. What a shame for them. That puts Valtteri Bottas back onto the podium here. Can't quite believe that too, because that means that Hamilton will finish ahead of Verstappen in the drivers, not because he's driven better, but because his car's engine hasn't decided to blow up at the season finale. What drama here. That is the third mechanical failure today, the fourth in the race weekend. Checo Perez still steaming off in front. We're throwing everything at it. The degradation on these mediums is so minimal here that I'm starting to wonder, you know, you could probably go to the end on the hards had we've done the one stop as soft to hard. Even already with warm softs, that could have worked, but Perez is getting away with trying everything, because the gap to Bottas is so big that we might as well throw everything at it. And if we pay the deficit later on, we pay the price. Hamilton ahead of Ricciardo. He's chosen the mediums. A tactical mistake, I think, there from Hamilton. 2 sets of mediums is not where you want to go. He should be using softs, and by that, he certainly shouldn't be getting a podium unless Bottas either suddenly decides to go to sleep or he has a mechanical failure. So Hamilton really seems to have made a bit of a tactical mistake there, but on lap 25 we are going very nicely here. In terms of Perez being in front, we're actually starting to catch. This has been our best lap so far in the GP, and that is a little bit like through that section. I know that I think if we get 1 or 2 more warnings, we'll be getting a time penalty. So as soon as I take too much in there, got to be careful. We go for 1:18, 4:72. He's not blisteringly quick here. In fact, I think it's Leclerc with the fastest lap. He's stuck behind a McLaren driver at the moment, but really, our focus, I thought going into this race weekend, would be trying, if we could, under any circumstance, to finish ahead of Norris, Sainz and Gasly. But at the moment, it's trying to push towards Checo Perez. And I don't think we're going to make it here with 10 laps to go. But if we throw everything at it, there's always the chance that we might suddenly find a little bit more, he might make a couple of mistakes and we might be there with him because, I mean, I wouldn't mind a fight for the win here. I don't want to take it away from the Mexican, as I think Charles Leclerc has cleared a slower McLaren. I wouldn't want to take it away from the Mexican, but, you know, I think we can compete here. The pace we have shown is fantastic in this car, and I am buzzing here in Mexico. Well, we head to race replays here for the second of the refreshers of the order. This is after pretty much everyone has pitted. Perez leads ourselves. Sadly, Max Verstappen out of the race with a mechanical failure. That leaves Valtteri Bottas and his Mercedes on the podium. As further back, Danny Rick versus Hamilton. Then we're having a refresher of the grid and the field order. There's plenty of action, and that's Hamilton in front of Danny Rick there. He takes P4, Ricciardo down to P5. Plenty of action between those two. Meanwhile, Lando Norris leads Charles Leclerc in the battle for P6. Gasly just under 2 seconds behind. He sits P8. Certainly won't be enough, though, for AlphaTauri to get ahead of us in the Constructors. My teammate Robert, actually, I do believe, has another pit stop, so I might be a bit mistaken there. Yes, has another pit stop in this race, which is a little bit frustrating for him because he is in the points, but he will have to pit again. He's being chased down by Kimi Raikkonen. Lance Stroll, P11, with Yuki Tsunoda sandwiched in the middle in P12. Vettel brings out that group. Giovinazzi just off the back of that. Then, the Alpines certainly struggling today. Alonso leads Williams of George Russell and Nicholas Latifi. Esteban Ocon is being chased down by Mick Schumacher. An absolute disaster of a GP for the Alpine of Ocon. I'm not sure if he's done an extra pit stop, though. A real shame for him, certainly not having a good race. One to forget, followed by Mick Schumacher and then Nikita Mazepin, 12 seconds behind to round out the field. A bit of a recap on lap 25 after virtually all the pit stops have been completed. Well, Charles Leclerc's recovery after a mechanical failure in quali and finishing last, only getting a couple of places because of grid penalties for others, has been immense, and he is now up to P6 if he can get past Lando, and he can, heading down to the first corner. Fantastic work from Charles Leclerc, gets the move done. He's on the mediums, nearly loses a bit there, but comfortably through P6 for Charles Leclerc here. Fantastic overtaking work. On lap 26, he gets DRS to pull away from Norris. Quite a chunk now from him to Danny Rick, so they want to just consolidate P6. Another solid result considering where he started. Well, as it stands, we're actually catching up to the back markers, me and Checo. Just headed through the stadium section last lap, and you could just hear the sound of the cheering Mexican fans. You know, we have used quite a bit of DRS here, but we're nearly within DRS zone. All of this hard work, it's taken us a while, but we're virtually there. We don't want to fluff it up, though, just before the finish line. Hopefully, these back markers do help us a bit, maybe, to get closer to Checo. We were purple in Sector 2 last lap. Clean through here is what we need to be, as we've gone a little bit too aggressive through there, but you've got to push it round this section. You've got to throw everything at it. You really do, and we're within DRS of Checo Perez in the GP. It's been a while, but we are within DRS of the Mexican driver. This is the battle. A little bit quieter in the stadium section this lap. Maybe they're sensing the move that we're going to try and make pretty soon. Whether we'll get close enough this lap or not, I'm not sure. In front, there is the Haas probably of Mick Schumacher. My teammate was running pretty well, nearly in the points, I do believe, but not to be, as then Checo Perez gets ahead of the back marker and is not looking too shabby here now that we've got Mazepin in between me and him, because we've got to clear Mazepin quickly, unless we could have a bit of a calamity. He lets us pass. Thanks for that, Nikita. But because of that affair, we have sadly dropped a little bit further back from Checo. We're steaming into these corners. I mean, we're using up quite a bit of the tyres, but we can afford to do that here. Hamilton isn't making much progress at all. In fact, he's defending from the McLaren of Danny Rick here, which I certainly wasn't expecting to see, but that's happening. Everything's happening here in Mexico. I have to say, we're not close enough this time for DRS. A little bit more catching to do before the end. Well, although 1 point is all that's on offer, there is a fierce fight here. And this is Alonso versus Raikkonen. My teammate Robert could get involved if it gets messy. And that is Kimi Raikkonen up to P10, searching to take Alfa Romeo's first point of the season. If he can stay there for the next 5 or so laps, he will have that. Fantastic work from Kimi there. And now my teammate might have a look onto the back of Alonso. The straight not long enough to do that. Come on, Robert. Push through. Maybe get us some points. But look at this. Kimi Raikkonen, after some bad luck for Alfa Romeo, despite the pace in the last few races, could take them home something at the end of the GP. Equally, though, it'd be fantastic to see if my teammate Robert could get something on the board for himself. Of course, he hasn't finished in the points yet this season. He was going to at Spain until George Russell span and took him out. And also, Fernando Alonso's had a shocker of a season really up to this point. Be great to see him scoring some more. So that battle probably will continue towards the end of this race. Well, we are certainly catching Checo Perez within 1 second here, within that all-important DRS range, which will be getting a chunk of it in a second to keep us close for the main straight. I mean, this has been the longest battle. It's been pretty much since the end of the second stint. Our objective has literally just been, well, like a few laps into the second stint. It was starting with just getting away from Verstappen, but it's now become chase Checo. Well, that's got a good ring to it.
Manage your tyres.
And Jeff, you can tell me to manage my tyres as much as you want, but it ain't happening. We are chasing down Perez, but once again, the time we're getting close enough to him, there is a back marker in front as we steam into the first corner there. Checo going pretty slowly there. I don't know whether that was an attempt to sort of break Checo's a little bit. I doubt it was, but a bit slowly there. Maybe me getting a bit too carried away. We are catching him now. As always, they have to have a back marker here, don't they? Just to spice it up a little bit. Mexico seems to be throwing everything at me here to stop Perez from being to stop me from being able to overtake Perez. But actually, for once, this might help Perez. No, it won't help. Yeah, it will help Perez a little bit. It didn't really make much of a difference, that one. Thankfully, Latifi moved out the way in a non-advantageous way for both of us. That certainly helped out a bit. Perez probably lost out a 10th or 2 due to that. Hamilton still no pace over Ricciardo, stuck there. Bottas so far behind. Here we have it, the main event of what has been a very, very exciting Mexican GP. 36 laps in this one. We come on to the 33rd, and we're catching him, but we're losing out through the stadium section. Must be getting propelled by his own fans here as we're getting closer and closer. But it's only going to be 4/10 by the end of this straight, maybe. Maybe a move on the next straight as we time it just so that we're right behind him, heading through these next 2 corners. It's all about the exit there. Perez getting good traction. And we're getting close, but not close enough. No need to worry with the engine. 65% on the CE. That'll comfortably make it to the end of this one as we get close to the back of Perez. I mean, to be fair with you, I am absolutely loving this GP. You might tell. You might tell. It's also related to the driving. When I'm loving it, I got that motivation to go. I mean, this is some of the best driving we've had in the season,
The gap on the car behind
other than Paul Ricard. But now we have to push. We have to throw everything at it. It's all about this last bit as we get very aggressive through there. Another chunk of DRS. There's nothing quite like this, is there? A lovely long battle with the home man, Checo. There's only one Mexican here, and there's only one man who's Mexican and is at the front of this race. We're trying to catch him, but he's getting so much better traction out the final corner, and each lap as the laps tick down and down and down, we're getting DRS, we're getting close to him by the start of Sector 2, but then we're really close by the end of Sector 2, and then Sector 3, we lose out to him a massive chunk here, steaming into the first corner, and we avoided a bit more contact there. Braking late, throwing everything at it, but we just can't get close enough to him. 5/10 in front. Feeling like it's not to be here. 2 more laps after this to the end of the race. You can see there's, I think, an Alpine in front. Is that? No. I have no clue now. It might be a Williams. I think it's the Williams of George Russell. I've mistaken him. I was thinking, why the heck is an Alpine Going to get lapped at this point, and that is a crucial mistake. Oh, God. What was that from me there? That is costly. Now we have to get our heads back down to get within DRS range of Checo now. Thankfully, it hasn't proved too costly, that bit of oversteer. And we're going to plough through the stadium section here and throw everything at him to try. We're trying. We're staying for these final few laps to see if we can get the win here. If you guys are thinking about clicking off the video, stay here for another 5 minutes of your time. In fact, it's going to be 2.5, maybe a bit more. DRS again, but we're not going to get close enough. We're going to use this ERS stuff. If it's there, it's going to get used. You know, we're going to use all of this car. We're going to use the bodywork. We've got to throw everything at him here. We've got to go 100% at the final part of this race here. And he is fabulous on the exit off this corner. We can't go any quicker than that in this car. But we got a significantly better exit there. Is a move potentially on as we have a look? Steaming in, side by side with Checo. He stays ahead for the lead, slams the door shut, and despite the purple sector 1, Checo Perez remains in the lead. We've had a go. Take a breath, people. Here's your break. The middle sector, a bit of the final sector, and then we go again. More DRS here. That's got to get us close to the back of him, because we lose a bit in sector 3. We can't afford to lose much. Back markers could play a part here. George Russell in front. Hopefully George Russell will slow down through this section to allow us to get right onto the back of Perez. Tyre wear wise, certainly not horrific at the moment. The tyres are looking all right. We don't get the exit we want there. Another costly one. Second to last lap. On to the last lap. This is the last opportunity for us here. The very last opportunity, and I don't want it to be half-hearted. George Russell there is going to let us comfortably through, thankfully. No sort of allowing Checo to come through. Won't allow us to come through there as we slide a bit on the exit, pushing, throwing everything at it. Do we have any last ounce of it on this lap? Barely any ERS left in the bank. We're going purple again in sector 1. We've got the pace. I know we have it. We're quicker than Checo at the moment, probably because of the DRS a little bit. But in terms of raw pace, we're just minimally quicker, 2/10. And this is going to be either a fantastic win for Checo at his home race, or our second ever win in the career mode. As now we're going to launch the attack. We've got to send it into the stadium section. Move out the way, Mick. Move out the way. We're going to send it into the stadium section. It's got to be. Come on. Come on. We're ahead. And we're ahead. We're going to come home to win the season finale, the Mexican GP. We've done it on the last lap. We've done it into the stadium section. Come on. Get in there. Well, after that fantastic finish to the race, a little bit of a refresher of what's happened. Lewis Hamilton was P4, but Danny Rick has hunted him down. And now look at this move, round the outside line, into the first corner. This was on lap number 35. Danny Rick to take P4 to the finish. Fantastic work from him there. Well, then, on lap number 36, while we were fighting for our lives to try and take the victory, Charles Leclerc versus Lando Norris into the first corner. Leclerc versus Norris. Norris with DRS, a little bit of wheel banging. Can Leclerc stay ahead to defend P6? Norris going to have the inside line for the next part of it, but doesn't really gain that much, and Leclerc just sticks out in front. But Norris is going to have DRS once again here, and the battle will continue into the start of Sector 2. Lando Norris is going to try and send it round the outside line of Charles Leclerc. Now he's got the inside for the next corner. And there we go, that should be the move done. Leclerc with a teeny bit of an overlap, but there you have it. Great work from Lando Norris, and that is P6 earned. Well, it would be criminal not to show a replay of this. We actually took a lot off that section there, really, really pushing. Just so you know, there will be a continuation of this video. You need to go and find that straight after this so that you can see the race analysis. But we sent it down the inside line. A bold move, avoided contact, then got the acceleration, outbroke him there and got the move done. What a beauty to finish off the season on the last lap into the stadium section. The confetti set off for a fantastic way to finish the season.